about Motown nobody talks about. The hits were real. The legend is real. But behind every one of those number ones, there was a cost. Because Berry Gordy didn't just build a hit machine. He built a mold. And the moment you fit inside it, the moment one song clicked just right and the whole world responded, the label looked at you and said, do that again. Not grow, not evolve again. In Motown legends, 10 songs that made them famous, and 10 moments where that same song started slowly pulling them apart. Stay with me. Number 10, the Marvelettes. Please, Mr. Postman, 1961. Here's something you might not know about the first number one in Motown history. It wasn't Marvin. It wasn't Stevie. It wasn't the Supremes. It was 5 17-year-old girls from Inkster, Michigan, a small working-class suburb outside Detroit, who walked into Hitsville with a song about a mailman and walked out with the biggest record Berry Gordy had ever had. Please, Mr. Postman, December 1961. Number one on the Billboard Hot 100 and the R&B chart simultaneously. The first Motown single to ever reach the pop summit. Not just a hit, a history-making hit. And the follow-up, they literally called it Twistin' Postman. Because why change a winning formula? But here's where it gets painful. Please, Mr. Postman was built around Gladys Horton, her voice, her urgency, her energy. That record worked because of her. And then, one by one, she was slowly sidelined. By the mid-60s, the Supremes were Motown's girl group. And the Marvelettes, the ones who built the template, were quietly pushed to the back. More personnel changes. Less promotion, less attention. The song that gave Motown its first taste of pop glory never translated into the investment the group deserved. And when Motown moved to Los Angeles in 1969, Wanda Young, one of the last remaining original members, stayed in Detroit. And that was that. The group that started everything quietly folded. Their biggest hit was Please, Mr. Postman. Their biggest hit was also their goodbye letter. Number 9, The Miracles, Smokey Robinson.
That you don't understand. Before you ask some girl for
Shop Around, 1960. You've got to understand what shop around meant.
gonna go now. Before you tell them that you love them so now.
Before it, Motown was scraping. After it, Berry Gordy finally had proof that what he was building was real.
Before you take a gun and say I do now.
Shop Around reached number 1 on the R&B chart in early 1961, peaked at number 2 pop. It was Motown's first million seller. And the person responsible was a 20-year-old kid from Detroit named William Robinson, who everyone calls Smokey. But here's what gets me about this.
Pretty soon you'll take a bride. And then
Gordy heard the first version and called Smokey in the middle of the night. Said it was too slow, too bluesy. Brought the Miracles back to the studio and cut a new, faster take. And that second version is the one that changed everything.
Don't let the birds of wine get you. Oh, no, 'cause I don't.
Berry Gordy heard that, saw the future. Upbeat, polished, commercial, crossover. He filed that lesson away. And that lesson became a rule. From that moment, Smokey Robinson's job wasn't just to be an artist. It was to be the engine. He wrote and produced hits for Marvin Gaye, for The Temptations, for Mary Wells, for the Four Tops. He was so talented and so reliable that Gordy essentially assigned him to the whole label. And the Miracles, his own group, sometimes got whatever was left over.
My mama told me, you better shop around.
They had great songs, real songs. The Tracks of My Tears. I second that emotion. Smokey was writing poetry when everybody else was writing pop. But even with all that talent, the shop around template hung over everything. Upbeat, commercial, accessible.
She's in love with you now. Make sure that I love it.
And if you've ever been so gifted at something that people couldn't see past it, if you've ever had one skill define you so completely that everything else you were capable of got ignored, you know exactly how that feels.
Oh yeah, you better shop around.
Smokey didn't truly get free until 1972. When he left the Miracles and went solo, things like Cruisin' and Being With You finally showed what he was capable of when nobody was steering the ship. It took him 12 years to get out from under one song. Number 8, the marvelous Four Tops. I Can't Help Myself, Sugar Pie Honey Bunch, 1965. Levi Stubbs hated this song. I mean, hated it. Thought the lyrics were too sweet, too lightweight for what his voice was capable of. He recorded it at the insistence of Brian Holland, was so unhappy with his own take that he wanted to redo the vocals the next day. Brian Holland told him, "Yeah, sure, we'll do it again tomorrow." Tomorrow never came. That bad take went to number 1 on the Hot 100 and the R&B chart. Billboard ranked it the second biggest single of all of 1965, and the follow-up, Holland-Dozier-Holland wrote "It's the Same Old Song," and I mean that almost literally. The chord structure, the tempo, the feel, it was a rewrite. They pressed it one day to stop Columbia Records from stealing momentum with an old Four Tops single, and it went to number 5. But here's what's wild about this. The Four Tops had been together since 1953. They started as a jazz vocal group. They bounced from label to label for over a decade. Columbia, just others, with nothing to show for it. And then Motown gave them Holland-Dozier-Holland, gave them the Funk Brothers, gave them Levi's voice pushed high into that strained, desperate register, and the whole world finally heard what they could do. The problem was that what they could do got filed under one category: urgent, pleading, up-tempo desperation. When HDH left Motown in 1967, the machine that made the Tops great walked out the door with them. And the Four Tops, who had waited years to be heard, suddenly found themselves in a label that didn't quite know what to do with them anymore. They left for Dunhill Records in 1972 and had to rebuild from scratch. A voice like Levi Stubbs shouldn't have needed to fight to be taken seriously. But success, weirdly, sometimes makes that fight harder. Number 7, Martha and the Vandellas. Dancing in the Street, 1964. Martha Reeves didn't want this song either. Originally written by Marvin Gaye and Mickey Stevenson, Dancing in the Street was actually intended for Mickey's wife, Kim Weston. Martha sang the demo just to give Kim something to work from. Then somebody listened to the demo, and the demo became the record. Martha said when she first heard it, she didn't think it was right for her key, but she gave it her treatment, found the feel, and delivered one of the most explosive vocals in Motown history. It peaked at number 2 on the Hot 100 in October 1964. It was kept off number 1 by Manfred Mann. Number 2, for that record, that still stings. Now, You've heard the debate about dancing in the street. Was it about the civil rights movement? Was it an anthem or just a party song? Martha herself said it became the anthem of the decade, and she wasn't wrong. But here's what that meant for her career. The song was so big, so loud, so culturally loaded, it became the ceiling and the floor at the same time. The Supremes were rising. Diana Ross was becoming Gordy's focus. And Martha and the Vandellas, who could argue they were the better live act, the more raw and urgent voice, slowly got pushed sideways. Personnel changes, creative differences with Motown executives. A personal battle with addiction that Reeves had spoken about openly. When Motown moved to LA in 1972, Martha stayed behind. The group folded that same year. But here's what I want you to sit with. Martha Reeves did not write that song. She sang a demo and it accidentally became her identity. Imagine building your whole legacy on something you didn't choose, something that, by pure circumstance, became you. Some of y'all have been there, not in music, but in life. You know what I'm talking about. Number 6, Gladys Knight and the Pips. He's come to know. I heard it through the grapevine. 1967, Gladys Knight voted against signing with Motown. I want you to remember that. The guys voted yes, Gladys voted no. She got outvoted. And look, in some ways, Motown gave Gladys Knight and the Pips things they never had. 8 years, 12 top 10 R&B hits, real visibility. But I heard it through the grapevine, which hit number 1 on the R&B chart and number 2 on the pop chart in 1967, was supposed to be their record, their moment. And here's the brutal irony, it wasn't. Too much for the man. Motown hadn't promoted it heavily. The record shot up on its own. It was the biggest selling Motown single to that point. And then, a year later, they gave the same song to Marvin Gaye. And Marvin's version went to number 1 pop for 7 weeks. So he's leaving the life. It outsold Gladys's version. It overshadowed it. The record that was supposed to define Gladys Knight, she watched someone else redefine it. And the thing that gets me is this. He said it would. Gladys was better suited to that song. Her version, gospel-rooted, urgent, raw, that's what the song is actually about. Marvin's is darker, more paranoid. Both are brilliant, but only one of them became the definitive version. And it wasn't her. She spent her whole Motown run working within those constraints. It wasn't until she left, until she walked away from Berry Gordy's label in 1973 and signed with Buddha Records, that she found what she was always capable of. Midnight Train to Georgia, number 1, Grammy-winning, pure Gladys. She had to leave the machine to find her voice. And I'll let you decide whether Motown gave her what she deserved. Number 5, the Supremes. Where Did Our Love Go? 1964. Before Where Did Our Love Go, they were called the no-hit Supremes. Three girls from the Brewster to Glass housing projects in Detroit who'd been at Motown since 1960 and had almost nothing to show for it. And then in the summer of 1964, Holland-Dozier-Holland handed them a simple hypnotic track, a stomping beat, a bass figure you can't shake, and Diana Ross's voice in its most relaxed, confident register. Ooh, please don't leave me all by my... It hit number 1. Then Baby Love hit number 1. Then Come See About Me. Then Stop. In the Name of Love, then Back in My Arms Again, 5 consecutive number ones.
Baby, don't you want me no more?
And Mary Wilson said it best. She remembered hearing the song playing in the streets outside the projects. We were still living in the projects, she said, and there was our song. Here's what nobody talks about, though. Where Did Our Love Go was originally offered to the Marvelettes. They turned it down. The Supremes got it by default, and it made them the biggest female group in American pop history.
Baby, baby, where?
But the moment that happened, the moment Berry Gordy saw those numbers, the Supremes stopped being a group. They became a vehicle, specifically a vehicle for Diana Ross.
Baby, baby, where did our love go?
Gordy renamed them Diana Ross and the Supremes in 1967. Florence Ballard, one of the founding members, one of the original voices, was pushed out. She had no say in it.
Baby, 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 don't leave me.
The song that lifted them all up ended up carrying only one of them forward. And for Mary Wilson and Florence Ballard, Florence, who died at 32, broke in 1976. Where Did Our Love Go represents something bittersweet that most people will never know about unless they did. If you've ever watched something you started with someone else become their story instead of yours, you already know this feeling. It doesn't need a name.
Baby, baby, ooh, baby, baby, baby.
Number 4, The Temptations. My Girl, 1965. This is where things get complicated. Stay with me on this one. My Girl is perfect. You know it before I even describe it. That guitar intro. Smokey Robinson wrote it specifically for David Ruffin's voice. And when it hit number 1 in March 1965, The Temptations' first chart topper, the first number 1 hit for any Motown act on the pop chart tied to that record, something shifted. David Ruffin became the face, the voice, the centerpiece. And the rest of The Temptations, Eddie Kendricks, Paul Williams, Melvin Franklin, Otis Williams, were suddenly background to his foreground. Here's what's wild. Ruffin knew it, and it started to change him. By 1968, he won a billing as David Ruffin of The Temptations, his name out front like Diana Ross. The other 4 members said no. And in June of 1968, Ruffin was fired, escorted out of the group at a concert in Cleveland, just like that. And here's the other side of it. The Temptations without Ruffin, with Dennis Edwards, with Norman Whitfield producing, with psychedelic soul, went on to some of their greatest work. Cloud 9. Papa was a Rolling Stone, 3 Grammys. But the classic Temptation sound? The harmonies, the choreography, the warmth that made My Girl the most played song at every school dance and every wedding reception for the past 60 years? That's gone. And part of what made it special left with Ruffin, who died in 1991, largely forgotten by the mainstream, alone in a Detroit crack house. That's not a detail. That's the ending to a story that My Girl started. I know, I didn't want to say it either. Number 3, Marvin Gaye. I Heard It Through the Grapevine, 1968. Marvin Gaye didn't want to feel good about this one. When Berry Gordy finally released his version of Grapevine in October 1968, it went to number 1 on the Hot 100 for 7 weeks. became Motown's best-selling single of the entire decade. Marvin Gaye, who had been making music for 6 years by then, who had been quietly, systematically told by Berry Gordy that his artistic instincts were wrong, finally had the biggest record in the building. And when he heard about it, he told a biographer the success was undeserved, not fake modesty. He genuinely believed it because Tammy Terrell, his duet partner, his friend, had collapsed on stage in his arms the year before and was dying of a brain tumor. And the world was celebrating a love song while the person he cared most about was fading. But the record's history is even wilder than that. Gordy had blocked Grapevine for over a year. Didn't think it was a hit. Literally called it a song that sucked. The Miracles had already recorded it and been shelved. The Isley Brothers recorded it, shelved. Then Marvin recorded it, and Gordy shelved his version too. He chose a different Holland-Dozier-Holland track for the single instead. It was only after a Chicago radio DJ started playing the album cut against Gordy's wishes that the public response forced a release. A man had to force Berry Gordy to release the biggest Motown single of the decade. And after it hit, after it proved that dark, heavy, emotionally raw music could sell, you'd think Gordy would have trusted Marvin more. He did the opposite. When Marvin brought him What's Going On in 1971, Gordy called it, and I'm not exaggerating, the worst thing I ever heard in my life. Marvin went on strike, refused to record, told Gordy, put it out or I'll never record for you again. What's Going On went to number 2 pop and number 1 R&B. Some call it the greatest album ever made. The Grapevine proved Marvin's instincts were right. But the man who owned the building never learned that lesson. And Marvin Gaye, who deserved every single thing that record gave him, spent the rest of his Motown years fighting for the right to be himself. Some of y'all know exactly what it feels like to be right and still have to beg someone in power to believe you. Number 2, Little Stevie Wonder. Fingertips, 1963. When he recorded this, he was 12 years old. Fingertips was a live recording from the Regal Theater in Chicago in 1963. Raw, chaotic, electric. Stevie on harmonica, working the crowd, ad-libbing, screaming. And it hit number 1 on the Hot 100. It made him the youngest artist in history to top the pop chart. The album it came from, recorded live, the 12-year-old genius, became the first record in history to hit number 1 on the pop charts as both a single and an album simultaneously. The label called him Little Stevie Wonder. And for years after, through his teens into his early 20s, that word little defined him. Not in stature, in expectation. When you believe in things. Motown kept packaging him as a prodigy, a wonder, a child, even as his voice dropped. Even as his musicianship deepened into something extraordinary. The label kept producing him as a novelty act from outside rather than letting the artist inside breathe. And Stevie knew it. He was feeling handcuffed in his own word. The Motown machine was writing his songs, producing his records, pointing him at what they needed him to be. Then he turned 21 in 1971. His contract expired by law. And this is the move. Instead of just re-signing, he packed up, moved to New York. Recorded 17 songs in a single Memorial Day weekend with two synthesizer engineers named Bob Margouleff and Malcolm Cecil. Used those recordings as leverage. Walked back into Motown's offices and negotiated the most artist-friendly contract any Motown performer had ever received. Creative control, publishing ownership, and a royalty rate no one at the label had ever gotten.
Nothing more to say.
Talking Book came out in 1972. Superstition came out in 1972. And then Stevie Wonder just didn't stop. Intervisions. Fulfilling this first finals. Songs in the Key of Life, 3 Album of the Year, Grammys in a row. A creative run that music schools still study today. No artist before or since has matched it. But none of it was possible until he escaped what fingertips made him. Here's what I think about when I hear this story. A 12-year-old boy stands in a spotlight and changes music history. And the system around him files him under child prodigy and almost never looks past it again. Imagine if he hadn't fought his way out at 21. Imagine what we would have lost. I know you're nodding. That's number 2.
Wash your face and hands.
Number 1, Marvin Gaye. I heard it through the grapevine, the full story, and what's going on. 1971. Wait, Marvin Gaye twice on this list? Yes, and here's why. Because Grapevine was the song that proved Marvin's instincts were right. And What's Going On was the moment he had to stake his career on those instincts being right. Those are 2 different entries in the same story. And the story of Motown, the real story, lives in the gap between them. You already know what Berry Gordy did with Grapevine. Blocked it, shelved it, got proven wrong. And then, even after being proven wrong in the most public way possible, with the biggest selling single in the label's history, he did the exact same thing again. Marvin Gaye came to Gordy in 1971 with What's Going On, an album about the Vietnam War, about police brutality. About a generation of black men coming home from a war that didn't make sense and walking into a country that didn't see them. His brother Frankie had come back from Vietnam with stories that hadn't left Marvin's mind. Detroit was still bleeding from the '67 riots. And Marvin, who had been singing polished romantic love songs for nearly a decade, finally said, "I cannot keep doing this. I cannot keep pretending the world is fine." Gordy heard the album, called it uncommercial, poorly structured. The worst thing I ever heard in my life. This is the same man who blocked Grapevine, the same instinct. The same fear that dark, heavy, emotionally honest music wouldn't sell to the audience Berry Gordy had spent 20 years courting. And Marvin went on strike, just stopped, wouldn't come to the studio, wouldn't record. Told Gordy to his face, "Release this album or I never record for Motown again." What's Going On came out in May 1971. It went to number 1 R&B, number 2 pop. It's been called the greatest album ever made. It changed what R&B was allowed to say. It proved that soul music could carry the full weight of what it meant to be alive, not just in love, not just at a party, but awake and in pain and trying to make sense of things. And here's what that means for this list. it through the grapevine didn't just make Marvin Gaye a legend. It made him dangerous. Because once the world heard what Marvin sounded like when the restraints were off, once they heard that darkness, that urgency, they couldn't unhear it. And Marvin couldn't go back to being the polished, clean, safe artist Berry Gordy had built. The song proved he was worth listening to when nobody agreed. And the only person who couldn't see that until the world made it impossible to deny was the man who ran the building. The song made him a legend. And the fight that followed, the fight Grapevine started, the fight What's Going On finished, that fight nearly broke him. It also gave us the most important album in the history of soul music. And if you ask me whether that was worth it, I'll let you decide.